the inbound secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the inbound. This is the inbound. This is the inbound. The inbound. This is the inbound secret.
Welcome back to another episode of The Inbound Secret, guys. I am your host, Bryce Vance, and today we have a very special guest. I was just on her show the other day, and we've got Bre Donofrio. Is that right? I said it right.
There you go.
She is now an executive contributor to Brainz magazine. She runs V.E.E by Brie, which is her virtual event experiences company, and she's just all around here with being a badass with little emo fire Satan Elmo in the back. That I kind of love that mug, by the way.
There you go. It comes out of it too, because I had to make it like legit. I was like, it's real. It happens. It's like, okay, so my friend who's also an entrepreneur, Veronica Abrams, amazing podcaster, amazing, personal branding strategist. And she got me hooked on this gift because she's like, it's perfect for any situation. It's applicable for anything. And I was like, all right, that's my language.
I mean, what's his actual name? Helmo? I think that's the actual term for it.
I accept.
But you're right. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be the badass walking away from an explosion in a movie. It's universal. So go ahead and give the audience a brief rundown of your badassery and kind of introduce yourself.
So I've been a badass for the past 15 years. So for the past 15 years, I've been doing event planning. I started localized here where I am in California, and then started to grow pretty quickly. I started really young at 18. And within the, first few years, I had a couple hundred events already under my belt on the West Coast. And then in recent years, I ended up growing and going global. So Zoom has been like my baby for years because that's how I've been doing events anyway. So that wasn't exactly foreign to me. It was very new for a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah.
And the events have ranged anywhere from doing a private reception to fundraisers, Academy Award galas, food and wine events, and then even founding a music festival. So it's been all over the board. My hard limit was weddings, though. I was like, I'm not going to be a wedding planner.
That's the one thing you don't do.
hard limit. 1000%. There's no way. There's no safe word out of a wedding. I'm not signing up. And so for me, that was it. But it's been fucking amazing. Especially in recent years, this year before COVID hit, felt like it was going to be my year. There was something lined up in conjunction with the Tokyo Olympics. It was I had just finished assisting with the coordination for this huge reception at the top of the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. So just everything was just, 100 times bigger than the year before. And then, of course, the pandemic hit.
Yep.
And it was I had 24 hours to cancel everything around the entire world. And that was devastating to my ego, I've identified. It wasn't devastating to my career, which is what I initially thought. My first impression was my career is over. And everything I've worked for is done. And I was then I realized, over the months, as my mindset has shifted and I've recalibrated my way of thinking and my business, that it wasn't that. My ego just took a huge blow and I needed to suck it up. And I needed to, just go into high gear and evolve with the time. So I did. So I quit my quote unquote 9 to 5, which was more 24/7. Corporate job for all these event planning. And I went full time into entrepreneurship in the middle of the pandemic as a single mom. And my business is just absolutely blown up in the past 6 months. It's been amazing.
I think that's the best way you could have done it, though.
Yep.
Like a lot of people listening or that'll see this are going to be like, single mom, quit a secure job, was doing international event planning, and during the newest recession and when the world shut down, when like the entire planet shit itself, you were like, now's the time.
Yeah. When you put it that way, I sound like I should like seriously be heavily medicated.
Which sounds hilarious when you put it that way. But when you think about it, you're like, you have to believe in yourself a fuck ton more than you believe in your boss at your other company to be able to say, this is the third or fourth Black Swan event that's only supposed to happen once every 100 years. We've had like 3 or 4 of them in our lifespan. You fuck it. Let's see what happens. And I love that about you, as well as I know you can teach this to a lot of people that are listening.
Thank you.
That gumption, that passion to do it, that you believe in yourself so much that there isn't a win or fail. It's like either I'm winning or I'm learning and then I'm winning during something that has paralyzed so many people. Tell me about kind of the mindset that you had or that you were going through, that thought process, because I think it's going to be valuable to the people listening that are maybe paralyzed a little bit, that want to do what you did, but they're like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's how I felt. Like 1000%, that's how I felt. I was still working when I started preparing for this as a side hustle. And even when I was preparing as a side hustle, I still wasn't fully confident in it at all. I was terrified. And I had these, a lot of limiting beliefs of, but I don't have a website, but I've never done this before. So how can I just do it if I'm not prepared? I was over consuming. So I was getting analysis paralysis, on like instructional YouTube videos, like courses, like you name it. And that just made everything take longer and longer. And then I would always have something, but health insurance, but, retirement plan, but all these things that I've been told you need, you have to have these. I mean, I was literally being interviewed for a CEO position before the pandemic, like, because I was told that's what you need to do. And I'm only 33. So in retrospect, it's like, why the fuck did I need to be a CEO at 33 for an organization that I didn't fully even want to be in and invest in, especially as a single parent? I knew I'd die at that desk. But I did it because it was like, that's what I'm supposed to do, quote unquote.
That's what we're trained to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm already, kind of not fitting the mold as a single mom as it is. So it's like I was almost striving to be as close to, that picture perfect life as I could be. And it wasn't until I started surrounding myself with entrepreneurs who were where I wanted to be. Who already had, 6-figure days, who had 7-8-figure businesses. Once I started surrounding myself with those people and viewing that as like, they are here to support me, they can support me, friends, they became friends to me. And it wasn't so much of me feeling so intimidated. I was okay asking what I felt like were stupid questions at the time. I had to get over that ego and say, so what's a sales funnel? What's lead pages? Like, I just had to ask, because if I don't ask, I'm going to continue sitting around. And I ended up making absolute best friends in the entrepreneur community. Not a single person I have been connected with over what's going to be, almost a year now, has ever said no to hopping on a call with me, to engaging in a conversation, to giving me advice and guidance. Not one. And I have talked to probably, 300, 400 people in the past 9 months. And I just had to do it and realize I literally have nothing to lose right now. All I'm doing is reaching out to someone. If they say no, that's fine, because I have almost 8 billion other people in the world to reach out to. So once I got over that and I started breaking through those mindset, those limiting beliefs, and then I had those entrepreneurs telling me, you can either continue what you're doing and stay where you're at, or you can do something about it And, stop making excuses and stop bitching and moaning about how miserable you are and do something about it. And so the moment I accepted that and I said, okay, and I knew if I didn't do this right now, I'm going to change my mind and come up with something. I was terrified. And I literally the very next day quit my job.
Good.
Before I could change my mind. I was like, I just have to do it. And I will figure it out. And that's what I told myself. And I'm a hustler and a hard worker. So I knew if anything, not having a job was the kick in the ass I needed to go into hyperdrive and figure it out.
Well, I think that I love the fact that you point that out, because I want to kind of backpedal a little bit and then I'll lead into that statement.
All right.
The 40-40-40 mentality drives me fucking batty. Okay. And it doesn't drive me crazy because I don't think people can be happy doing it. There are people that just want to do the 40-40-40 and they love life, right? That's not me. Never was me. I learned at a very young age that I hate having a boss. I hate being told what to do. I hate having to have a conversation with my boss that doesn't know how to do my fucking job, let alone his, try and teach me how to do what he's paying me for. Just fuck off and let me do my job, right? So I learned at a very young age that, have to do the entrepreneurial thing because there's no way I'm going to hate my life for the rest of it, right? But that leads into kind of this weird paradigm shift that you recognized.
Yep.
When you're in the 40-40-40, there's this, for whatever reason, mentality that you have that, oh, I can't approach the CEO of this company. I can't go to dinner with the COO of that company. I can't hang out with those C-suite executives.
Yeah, they're untouchable.
There's this weird mentality where you're like, here's people, here's executives, and you're separate, right? But the second that you change your mind on that and you realize that it doesn't matter if it's Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Jeff Ducharme, a friend of mine and a mentor of mine, Akbar Sheik, you, me, Trey, Caesar, doesn't matter who it is. We're all people.
Exactly.
There's no difference. And maybe this is just a me thing, but I found it the same way. Nobody's ever told me no either throughout my entrepreneurial time frame. But it has a lot to do, I've come to the realization that it has to do with desire. An entrepreneur, a CEO, an executive, they're not going to offer their time to you if you don't show to them that you're worth them offering their time. If you want to just bitch, moan, sit there and cry that you wasted your month because you wanted to sit in front of TV for 18 hours a day and not fucking do anything, and you wanted to hop on unemployment and complain about why you can't afford your bills, they're not going to give you their time. But if you actually, even 1%, doesn't have to be big action, but if you take 1%, just a little action, and you show that you want it, you show that you're at least trying, they are the most generous people you will ever meet in your entire life, because they're entrepreneurs, any of them, self-made millionaires, billionaires, thousandaires, business owners, even self-made executives like the current CEO of Google, who came from nothing and is now leading like the world's largest tech company. There's really one commonality. We're not doing it for us. We get the benefit from it, but none of us are motivated by money alone, because money's a vehicle for us. So like me and Trey were talking yesterday about a pretty cool initiative that we're wanting to start that's basically coaching for youth, to help youth build their empire, start a business, be profitable, be the first millionaires in their family. And we're trying to figure out a way to make it holistic. We want it to be impact driven. We're not going to keep any money. 100% of proceeds, if any proceeds, go to the students, go to the cause, go to the benefit. And we had like an hour-long conversation about this, maybe less. And the entire thing, me and the other partners that are doing it, Trey's the one that brought it to my attention. All of our first question was, we don't care about the money. What's the impact we can do at it? How do we make this affect somebody's life? We don't care about if we've got to eat some cost or if we've got to find a sponsor or if we have to do a fundraising campaign. Our only thought was, how do we make the biggest impact with this movement? And that's the same kind of thing that you realized yourself when nobody told you no, you're like, wait a second, what?
Absolutely.
And you're right. Like, they become your closest friends. They become people that you surround yourself with. You start getting yourself in situations where rather than you wanting to be the big fish in a small pond, you're like, how do I become the smallest fish in that pond? Right? You start looking at things a little differently. And that leads me to kind of the last point in this before the next question.
Yeah.
When you were going through this, when you finally had that light switch come on and you were like, I'm doing it before I change my mind.
Yep.
Because you can come up with 5,000 reasons why not to do something. You only need one to do the thing, right? And you mentioned a lot of good ones: health insurance, benefits, security, hours, time, work-life split, etc. What was your like needle in the haystack, or the what's the freaking word I'm looking for? The hair that broke the camel's back. What
to
was
make me do it?
Yeah.
Honest, in retrospect, honest to God, it was, so me as a single mom, you know, I'm essentially, as they say, like both parents, right?
Yeah.
But in a way, I'm really not. Like, I'm the mom. But here's the thing. I'm a mom of two boys. I got a 13-year-old and I got a 6-year-old. And I know they are watching, they are listening. The way that I talk about, the way that I handle a job, my working relationships, my personal relationships, money, abundance, all of that is what they are going to grow up with. So one of the light switches that did go off, the straw that broke the camel's back, that one.
Natural saying, thank you.
That was it. The straw that broke the camel's back. That literally just came to me in that moment too. I didn't even it was that. It was, you know, what kind of person do I want my kids to see and to grow up to be? Do I want them to be someone who settles for being, you know, mediocre or miserable and not have the life they want because that's what they think is expected of them? I really don't. Like, even when I talk about college with my kids, they don't have to go. Like, if they don't want to. Like, if they don't feel that that's something that they need and that they can find, you know, their passion and their drive and their success elsewhere, by all means do it and I will support you. But when I noticed what I was looking like, what I was sounding like, and that wasn't something that, you know, I wanted my kids to see.
I love it. I love it. And that's kind of what I was hoping you would say, because I felt that, right? The reason that's so important to me, and I think everybody listening, it's going to hit them right where it matters, is it goes back to that Old Testament conversation. They may not give the impression, your kids, your friends, your family, they may not give the impression, especially when we're talking about parents to their children, that they're watching you, replicating what you do, learning from you, but they are. And it goes back to, like, let's use relationships as an example, right? Do you want your kids growing up thinking that an unhealthy relationship is what love is? No, no, you don't. Exactly. So why would you give that same example for the rest of your life? Literally 70% of your life that you're awake. Why would you want to give them an impression of something that's unhealthy, unhappy, miserable, time-consuming, a drain on you, when that same energy could be used to make you happy, change the life of you and your family, and set an example that your kids will never have to worry about money because they don't see it as, they don't have a bad relationship with money, right? They've got a healthy relationship with it. They know that there's abundance. They know they can go solve a problem to make money. They know that they don't have to just settle and work at the one and only Radio Shack on the planet for the rest of their life. They can go do something else.
Exactly. 100%. That's why I posted on my Facebook the other day a picture of my 6-year-old's journal entry for first grade. They do like a journal entry every day. And he wrote this journal entry. The question was, you know, who is your hero? What makes a hero? Do you think you could be a hero yourself? Right. Now you need to have this background here. My 6-year-old and 13-year-old, they share a room, boys, right? It's plastered in superhero stuff. Superman, like God, everyone's gonna hate the fact that Marvel and DC live together in that room, but they do. Everyone is in there. So I'm like, all right, it's gonna be, you know, Superman, it's gonna be Batman. Like, I'm ready. I'll help him, like whatever it is. And he wrote it, and then he shares it with me. And he said his hero is his mom. And he said it's his mom because she helps people, and she is a nice person. And he said he can be a nice person and help people just like my mom. And so he can be a hero too.
Yeah.
And then when I read that out loud, obviously, like I was shocked and emotional, and that made me so proud because I never saw that coming. And then the 13-year-old shouts in the background like that I'm his hero too. So to hear that from like a freaking middle schooler and everything, I'm like, that's why. That's the straw that broke the camel's back right there. I never expected that. I've never said those words to them, nothing. That was purely organic, natural, just raw, honest feeling from a first grader and a middle schooler, my kids. And I was like, there it is. I'm helping people. We just talked about that, right? That's what we're doing. And they see it. They're seeing and hearing it. And I'm like, there it is. I did it.
And that's one of the biggest things that, like, I'm so grateful for being able to be an entrepreneur, to do that. I'm sure you are as well. Uncle G says this all the time, and he's like, what's going to make the biggest impact? Life's hard when you're poor. Life's hard when you're rich. Pick your hard, right? And then he takes that a step further, and he's like, rich people, self-made rich people, to be specific, is what his topic's talking about. Not like monarchy money. And I'm sure some of them are fine too. But he's like, the majority of self-made wealthy people are not selfish, malicious people. Think about the change that they can do. Your $5 to Locks of Love or to the Ronald McDonald House, while it is a good contribution and thank you, doesn't make the change that's necessary to make those function. But if I have $100 million in cash in an account and I can donate 50% of it, I've just changed a fuck ton more lives than if I was stuck working at McDonald's. And he's like, so change the way that you're thinking about it. For some reason, we've got this cancerous thought process going through the world, especially this year, that's just eat the rich, eat the rich, eat the rich. But they're forgetting some really powerful things. The rich got there by solving problems. They didn't get there by abusing people. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. I'm sure there's some people that got there by not being genuine good people. But the overwhelming majority, at least in my experience, have got there by solving problems, putting people first, not worrying about the capital, and investing as much capital as they can into making an impact and a change in other people's lives.
Yep. Yeah, there's this toxic thinking, you know, money is bad. Money is bad. Don't get rich quick. Like, you know, that, well, why the fuck not? Why does it have to be? You want me to run around and tell my kids like money is evil and that no, it doesn't. People do bad shit. Money has nothing to do with it.
One of my favorite quotes about money and how to have like a healthy relationship with money is if you're a shitty person with $100, you're not going to be a better person with $1 million, right?
Yeah, there it is.
Money doesn't change you. It amplifies you. Yeah. Money itself is an inanimate object. It's a vehicle for trade. It's no different than a chicken or a goat. It's just more convenient to carry around a little card or a little piece of paper that says this is worth 5 chickens than me carrying around 5 chickens, right? Way easier. But the relationship with money really goes back to a kind of a few things. One, mindset, most importantly. But secondarily, the thought process of why not get rich quick. I do want to touch on that for a second, and I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
I think overwhelmingly getting rich too quick does not build the character or the foundation for somebody to be able to properly manage that with integrity, with ethics, with morals, and to do good with it. I think if you go 0 to 100 too fast.
Yeah, that's fair.
You skip the character building, the who you need to be to properly use it. Not in all cases, but the reason I bring that up is you see it's like 98% of lottery winners squander their money.
They go bankrupt.
like overnight.
Yeah.
Professional football players, like 80% of them go bankrupt when they stop playing. Professional athletes of all sorts do. Movie stars do. Because they go from 0 to 100 in like a year and they don't know what the hell to do with it. Now, I'm not a particularly gigantic Justin Bieber fan, but he did an interview where he said, what do you get when you give a 15-year-old $100 million? And it was during a roast, so it was a joke. But he points out, he's like, you get Justin Bieber, right? You get a kid who had drug issues, alcohol issues, speeding tickets, violations, civil lawsuits, almost killed himself. Basically, like he's a Canadian and Canada made a joke about not wanting him back. Like he went so far off the rails that Canada said, nah.
Yeah.
You know how much of a dick you have to be to have Canada hate you?
Canada loves everybody.
Exactly. But that's a prime example of like the 0 to 100. And then you see people like Tony Robbins, who invented basically our industry,
Coaching.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And he didn't get rich quick. He grinded that out. He dug trenches. He lived in those for a while. He came from nothing, like literal nothing, to making so much impact in so many ways that he created an entire industry for thousands of people to benefit from, has impacted hundreds of millions of lives, has redefined what coaching mentorship is, and has cultivated an experience that even if you don't know, if you've never seen him, you don't know what he's about, something he has said has changed your life to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
He's a prime example of why character needs to be the foundation, and why if you're bad, you're a bad person with $100, you're not going to be a good person with $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to change you that way. If anything, you're just going to be a shittier person.
With a nicer car.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's true. Tony's great. He's doing amazing too. I mean, with the virtual space on top of it. He in fact, he's the event going on right now.
Yep.
Come to think of it, which funnily enough, I think anyone, like, I don't care whether you want to be a coach or an entrepreneur, anyone should go and see what he does, because that man does magic, like, for sure. Period.
And for those of you that don't know, he's a fucking giant.
Yeah.
The dude is a giant teddy bear. He's fucking huge, and he's like the nicest person you'll ever talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like 7'2" or something. Like, he's a big man. He looks like the dude that, like, if we were in the 18th century, like, you would run away from if you saw him on the battlefield. You'd be like, nope. I'm going home. Fuck that. But he turns out to be like the medic or something, like somebody who's just there to help you. Like, he's not threatening at all. Which is kind of leads into my next paradigm shift I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I think this is going to be impactful to a lot of people, because it was to me. Once you realize that the people that you were afraid of, or the experiences that you were afraid of, right, aren't terrifying, does it not give you it's like putting kerosene on a fire? You're like, oh, fuck yeah, got to keep doing that. The reason I want to touch on that is I want to hear your experience on kind of like your first, when you went from corporate to you, right? After you made that change, tell me about like your first few months in that, and how invigorating it is when you start seeing change for clients, you start helping clients, maybe you get your first client in. Because to the people listening, some of them are plateaued, some of them are shut down, some of them are just now leaving their 9-to-5, some of them are afraid to leave their 9-to-5, and some of them are just at a level where they're like comfortable and they've lost that fire, right? Yeah. I think you telling your story will reinvigorate the fire in our audience.
Yeah. So those first few months, God, it's so weird to look back on that. Just because what I thought it would be has turned out to be, so different in such a great way, right? Just evolving with the times and everything has been extraordinary. But in those first few months, what was really key that continued to fuel my fire and it was expanding my network, just engaging with people, reaching out to people and helping others without an ask in return. And, people just organically became clients. I just outreached and, gave value to people as much as I could. 1000%. I started a Facebook group to just try and have a center, place where I could drop value and share information as much as I could and bring people together. It's still going. And the first few months, it was, I think, the first time a person said yes to a high ticket offer where it was interesting. Before the fire flicked on, I was shocked. Like, I just couldn't believe it because I went from the mindset, just a few days prior of no one's going to pay me that. Like, what? Like, what? And it was because, I'd spent all these years you're told what you're worth, right? Yeah. Your work, your success is worth this much an hour, this much a month, or this much a year. That's it. And, maybe do a little better and we'll give you extra 50 cents. Huzzah.
In 5 years. Yeah.
And so, but to go from that, 15 years of being told, here's what your expertise and all your experience and all your work is worth. And then to have someone all of a sudden believe in you. And then multiple people start believing in you, one after the other, even if they're not paying you, just having all these people want to support you and help you because I reached out to them and asked for it, to see that in return, that was fire, hands down. Me just reaching out to people and having them reach out right back and then connecting me with others. And this huge ripple effect has and continues to be to this day, absolute fire every single day. There are no weekends anymore for me in a good way. Because I used to live for the weekends, right? And dread Mondays. Now they don't exist. It's just a day. I wake up, I work. I love it. I absolutely fucking love it because you never know what it's going to bring. And it's just consistent after that through and through. So the first sale was absolutely, epic. Like to have that feeling when someone was like, yeah, I'll work with you for that much money. And it was a huge high ticket, program. But what really has kept it consistent hasn't been the money coming in. That hasn't been it. Like that's
it
great,
never,
but
it never is.
No, it's been so much deeper than that. It's been the people, the community, like the clients themselves, not the money, not that, not the sales. It's been just how it's evolved and how it's grown and these relationships and expertise. Because I learned from you. I learned from everyone. I mean, around me. So my knowledge only gets deeper. My expertise only gets better. And it's just, you always learn, right? You never have something nailed down. Everything's always changing. Everything's evolving, especially in my fucking industry, which is all virtual. It's all events. Like you have to keep up with it every single day. And all of that, not only just being passionate about what I'm doing anyways, and my mission is centered around helping people, but to actually be executing it. And feeling that every single day, it makes you want to show up and it makes you want to work harder. It makes you want to learn and grow every day. And it's just like, I want that for everyone because it feels amazing.
It feels so good. And it's one of those weird things that I was joking. It may have been on your show. I've talked about it a few times, but I always joke about this. And it's entrepreneurs or those crazy people that'll work 160 hours a week for themselves so they don't have to for 40 for somebody else. And I love that statement for two reasons. One, it's absolutely true. But two, I find the terminology weird because we put in work. Yes. But I wouldn't constitute what I do as work. I mean, at the end of the day, I get paid to make friends, build relationships, and help people help other people. Does it take work? Yeah. Do I feel like I'm working when I'm working 20 hours a day or 12 hours a day, or I take a day off to go fuck around with the family or friends because I can? No, it doesn't. So it's not that we work 106 hours a week so we don't have to for somebody else. We put in the work so we don't have to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
The reason I love that so much is because, just like you explained, being purpose-driven really is kind of a requirement. Because, yeah, when I hit my first $10,000 month, I was like, fuck yeah, right? Like, it was awesome.
Here's my ass 9 to 5. Take that $15 an hour.
Right? And then it became a regular thing. And then way sooner than I thought, I was like, well, now what? Like,
That's
it just,
a really good point.
it just like, it stopped being like, I need this or I want this. And then it was like, well, I'm going to keep doing it, but why? Like, why am I doing it now? Because I don't need more money. I don't need more staff. I don't need more clients. I don't need more comfortability. I don't need more shit. I've got enough shit, right? So why? And then that was like, for me, it was a big reflective period, right? I had to go back to who I was. I had to go back to my why. Full disclosure, had to revigorate myself to really get into it because I did have a slump. I had a slump this year. I turned client acquisition off for like 3 months because I was just like, why? Like, why? And that, for me, it was actually a negative thing that made me go back. But that negative item put me back into a situation. And for full disclosure, I've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah.
I got accused of some things that are not true by somebody who I respected very dearly and was a big impact in my life. And that made me go back, and I was like, fuck, okay, why? And so then I just focused on that. But it's kind of a weird shift that I think all of us entrepreneurs go through. And everybody listening to this either has or will go through at some stage. And it's kind of that change where, like, you take the red or the blue pill, right?
Yeah.
You do the whole matrix thing, right? And it's, you either keep living in the world where you're programmed for 40, 40, 40, you get a 50-cent raise every 5 years, you're told what you're worth. This is how life is supposed to expect. This is how education's supposed to go. And money is the driver of all of that, right? That entire program is, you need money so that you can buy things, so that you can live, so you're not homeless, so you don't starve to death. And then you get into a world where, like, that's not really important anymore. You get to this point where you're like, yeah, I mean, cool, but I don't need it. So what do I do with it? Right. And then somewhere along the lines, you have this, like, just an epiphany moment, and you're like, that's fucking why. That's why I do it. And then you stop really focusing on the money altogether.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I can't tell you what my overhead is. It's on a spreadsheet on another computer. I've got no fucking idea because I don't focus on it. Like, every conversation I have, every podcast I do, every conversation with a client or a prospect or a referral is all about the impact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very upfront about what it costs to work with me. I've got a web page that shows transparent pricing. Just yesterday for Funnel Friday and Virtually Limitless, I don't know if you saw it, in the community, I did a breakdown of 3 different 30,000 foot view funnels. I did traffic and funnels. I did Stumans, and then I did the system that we're building for Virtually Limitless. I showed them exactly what they're going to go through at a 30,000 foot view, because there's no reason to hide it. It's not about, am I going to monetize that group? Is Trey going to monetize that group? Are you going to monetize your group? It's about, okay, this is what the process is going to be. Now, in this process, how can we help you make the most change, the most impact, build that legacy? Because that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. That resonates really deeply with me. I think that's I know I don't know if you come against this too, like let me know with your industry and what you do, your field, but in mine, it is fiercely competitive around me.
Mhm.
And it gets brutal. It gets really harsh. I can very much relate to what you've touched on about what you've gone through with some people you respected. I
Yeah.
very recently have had something come up that has me facing kind of those emotions and how to handle that of that's interesting. Okay, so I respected you, but apparently that things are changing a little bit now that I'm making waves, right? The dogs don't bark at parked cars, or the dogs don't bark at parked cars. So that's what's happening. So I'm moving, and all of a sudden people are coming out of the woodwork, and now, they want something and not in a good way. And which is really unfortunate. But for me, some of my absolute best relationships are with people who are in the exact same field and expertise as me, not as competitors, because I'm not for everyone at all. I am not for everyone. My program is not going to be necessarily the right fit for everyone, but guess what? She might be, or he might be.
Thank you for saying that. So much thank you. For whatever reason, we've gotten into this place in the world where a business enters an industry, or business is an existing industry, and for some reason they think every competitor is out to get them. And I don't like, in my industry, it is fiercely competitive. And I'm going to be a little brash here. Like 85% of the people in my industry don't know their dick from a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
So it's a whole issue. But the people that do, the actual legitimate companies out there that aren't some 11-year-old that read one book and now thinks that he's Jesus. The actual legitimate companies out there, they are very competitive. And there's only two thought processes. There's the thought process that you and I share, which is, yeah, they're competitors, but they're not my competition.
Exactly.
I mean, you may be a good fit for me. You may be a good fit for them. You may not be a good fit for either of us. There's enough business in the world, or even in the country, or even the state, that there is no reason that you need to fight with your competition. If anything, help them.
1000%.
Because if you send business to your competitor, I fucking guarantee you they will send more business to you than you've sent to them. I fucking guarantee it.
Yep.
Not only because of the law of attraction and reciprocity, but the second that you actually do that, you're showing to your competitor who may want that relationship, but is afraid that you're just like everybody else, that you're not.
Oh yeah. Two of the strongest relationships I have right now, I could have viewed as competitors and, approached it in a vindictive way, which doesn't come naturally to me anyways, but I could have had I made that choice and acted on my insecurities, right? But I didn't. Instead, I welcomed them like with open arms, and I gave them the room for trust until they didn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And they did not break that, just like I would I would want my employer to do. Like, you trust me until I give you a reason not to trust me, which, was not the way it was in the corporate world.
I was going to say, you worked in a very different corporate America.
It's not that way, but it's what it should be. And so that's how I've approached it. And two of my strongest relationships, one of them, in fact, she has a virtual events niche mastermind that she runs. But she has a different audience. She has a different type program, very different personality than me as well. She's an absolute sweetheart, not to say I'm not sweet, but I love her. I absolutely love her. And she brought me into her mastermind as an expert in the field to speak to her clients because she trusted me and I've trusted her. And then she sent me the sweetest thank you gift on top of it. But that's what it's about right there.
That's the way it should be. Because I've brought on other marketing competitors. I've brought on half of the people on this show, let alone that I've interviewed or just met with or hung out with or talked to on a daily basis, or great friends of mine, or even business partners these days, are literally direct competitors.
See?
And I don't bring them on there because it's about me. my ego doesn't fucking matter here. If the client can get something from you, awesome. If the community can get something from you, awesome. That's the whole fucking point.
Absolutely. The conversation organically that comes out of it, she has different experiences than me. Yeah. So for her to share that is super beneficial when I don't have that experience to share. I mean, it's just been absolutely golden. Another one, she's doing something very different in the virtual event space. In fact, she's a virtual mixologist and her company is absolutely fucking amazing. Did you say
virtual mixologist?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Her name's Rachel Green. Check her out. She's fucking awesome. Talk about someone
I'm so intrigued right now.
Dude, talk about someone who had what we'll call an in-person business, right? And in-person engagement before COVID hit and went, okay, COVID challenge accepted. And said, like, fuck this. I'm going to use the technology at my disposal, my passion and my talent, my expertise, and I'm going to use it with what I have. And she has. And it's her business, and she's freaking amazing.
What's the company called?
Personality on top of it. Rachel Green Cocktails. And you can check her out. She's on Facebook. She's on LinkedIn. One of the most collaborative, engaging people I've ever met. And and she does a lot of like event coordination, everything. I could have viewed her in some way, shape, or form and go, oh, competitor, she's involved in virtual events. But I didn't. Instead, I went, holy shit, I've never heard of anyone doing what you're doing. This is awesome. We need to be friends. And now we're talking about working together on a podcast and partnering up on projects. I mean, it was.
This is pretty cool.
Dude, right? It's awesome. It's awesome. And she is so super cool too. She really is. I mean, that girl could work with any personality. She's just fantastic.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she reached out to me. She did it. I gotta give her the credit. She made the first move on me via LinkedIn. She was like, your profile says entrepreneurial pimp. I don't know who you are, but I need to talk to you. Yeah. And I was like, all right, let's go.
Yes. And this is a prime example. I've got her Facebook page up in front of me. Yeah. This is a prime example. Rachel is a prime example of really one of my favorite topics. Okay. And like, I can get passionate and argue about this all fucking day long because I'm not arguing. It's facts. Okay. Debating. That's the word I was looking for. God, my brain's not working today. But I've had this conversation with so many people, and it's, well, Americans are losing jobs, or the world is losing jobs. We're going away from the blue collar worker, which is like 80% of our field. And I'm like, no, we're not fucking losing jobs. Jobs are just changing. Just because you stop manually boxing an item does not mean that 10 other fucking positions aren't going to open up. It's just an evolution. Mm-hmm. When we went away from coal miners actually just hand picking out coal and we started putting machines, we didn't lose jobs. We just changed what the job was. Exactly. When Henry Ford automated the fucking assembly line, we didn't lose jobs. We just changed the job in the assembly line. And I love bringing that topic up and talking about it because Rachel's proof. There was never a moment in my entire fucking life that I would have thought mixology and bartending could be done virtually.
Exactly.
Ever. Exactly. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
And that's the other thing. This is the message that I'm most passionate about right now. And this is what's evolved from when I first started. So when I first, launched my business in the virtual event space, I thought my clientele, my programming, everything, my messaging, it was all targeted towards event planners. Like that's what I thought it was going to be. And yeah, event planners turned out to be the least receptive to it. The biggest that pushback, no, it has to be in person. We can't do this virtual. In person's coming back tomorrow. Okay, maybe like next week. Maybe everyone's holding on to it, that nostalgia. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to put myself out there and see what happens. The people who started coming to me are people like Rachel. Mind you, she was established. She didn't come to me for help. That bitch had her stuff down. But It was people who had these in-person experiences in some way, shape, or form.
Well.
Be them small business owners, hospitality, entertainers, like it could be a magician. I mean, all over the board. And they're like, okay, so I feel like my business is shut down, or I can't do the job that I used to anymore, but I'm also really passionate about this. And I have this talent and this passion I used to do or on the side. And it sounds like I could maybe do something with that. And it's like, absolutely you can. You just need to shift your mindset, recalibrate the way you look at engagement, the way you look at your work, the way you look at executing that talent or expertise, get creative, think outside the box and do something about it, make it happen. We watch movies, right? Yeah. I can break through the screen and connect with you right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can make a drink and do the same for me. Let's go, Bryce.
I'm not a mixologist. I can make a few good drinks, but I limit myself to like 5. Now, but I do want to add into that. It can also be what your work is. Yep. Like one of the biggest things that we've consulted a ton of contractors on this year is contractors, when the restrictions came in, can't go into homes. They can't do the work. They can't do the fulfillment. So they closed. Mm-hmm. But there's been quite a few of them actually that have been like, no, we need to keep operating. We support people's lives. We need to keep operating. How do we do it? Yep. So we immediately went into R&D and we were like, okay, well, you can't fulfill an order. So do like a 50% pre-sale for the blueprinting, the execution, the planning, the infrastructure, do everything but the labor, sell that. You know how many fucking homeowners have loved that? Where they're like, I would love a new kitchen. How do I do it? When do I do it? What's it going to cost? And they come in and they're like, well, it's 50% down. That guarantees your spot for when we can come in when restrictions are lifted. But that 50% gets you a blueprint, gets you an architecture structure, gets you the materials, gets you an outline, gets you a 3D walkthrough, gets you a digital program. Now contractors that do kitchen remodels can still operate, still sell a service, and they can do it from the comfort of their home without having to close down.
Exactly.
And still be your business. It doesn't have to be. It can be your hobby. It can be your faith. It can be, it can be cocktails. I'm still confused on how that works, but I'm thoroughly interested.
Then we're gonna have to hook you up with one of her events. It's holiday season. Shit's blowing up right now.
I saw the Halloween drink and I'm like, I'm intrigued.
It's badass. Right?
I'm intrigued.
Badass. Okay, so you know what I gotta do? I gotta add you into her Facebook group. Shout out to the group, Cocktails and Connections, because she does live happy hours, networking happy hours in the group.
Awesome.
So if you want to get a taste of what that's like, what she does, connect with people, see how that kind of virtual mixology works, that's a great place to go and check it out.
Awesome. Okay, so I know you have a hard stop in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I got a few. I could be a little flexible since I haven't gotten the call yet.
And I've got to get running around the same time too. Okay. We're going to go spend some time with the family now that I'm not dying from the Rona. We're good. I appreciate that. What I want to kind of wrap with I want to wrap with 2 things, 2 favors from you. Favor one is your end all be all gold nugget that you've used, whether it be emotion, spiritual, logical, whatever that gold nugget is, that the audience can do right now, today, tonight, to get one step closer to living their dream. And then number 2, where can everybody go to contact you, get a hold of you, join your group? Where do you want people to go to kind of get to know you more and start working with you if they need your help or just learn about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one gold nugget, like right off the bat, I'll say it's what did it for me. It's what I have tattooed on my wrist in my own shitty handwriting. I call it my permanent Post-it note. Is do it afraid. Period. Because that's exactly what I have to do. So whatever that thing is that keeps you saying, oh, but my health insurance, which by the way, you can buy health insurance, reality check. I mean, whatever that is, even if it's not quite quitting your job yet, if it's not there, that's okay. If it's investing in a coach, like that's another great thing to do. If the thing you're afraid of is reaching out to someone, even like me or it's Bryce, anyone like that, that's just you have up on that pedestal, step up there and do it afraid. That's my big thing. Be afraid. That's fine. Just do it. As I said, when you're starting out, when you're in this place, you have nothing to lose.
I just want to point out,
no, who cares?
I just want to point out, you just defined courage. I think the actual definition of courage isn't not being afraid. It's doing it in spite of the fear.
Yep.
And like, you're completely original. Love the tattoo, by the way. That should be your mantra. Like, that should be your leave when you sign like a card or something. Write that. I love it.
You got
like, just redefined that.
Yeah, absolutely. I made sure it was in my shitty handwriting too. I got to hold myself accountable for that. That's me saying it, but it's true. I mean, that's my biggest thing. That's what I advocate more than anything. Just do it afraid. It's fine to be afraid. Do it anyways. Because after you do, it's going to feel damn good. Even if it's going live on Facebook. I don't care what it is. Just do it afraid.
In regards to the Facebook one, absolutely do it afraid. But like, there's nobody that's good at it at first.
Oh, hell no.
You can go look at my first lives. I'm a fucking disaster.
I will, Ben. I'm gonna bump that shit to the top of the timeline.
Just be like, God damn it.
I love that. So that's what I want to put out there. And honestly, like, on that note, if anyone is feeling afraid to like reach out to me. It's unlikely I'm gonna say no. Don't get me wrong, I got those hard limits. Don't ask me to plan a wedding. It's not gonna happen.
So just so everybody heard that, if you want to plan a wedding, Bree's your gal. Just
yeah, and all Bryce's services are for free now. There you go. Black Friday sale.
We actually are having a Black Friday sale. It's not free, but it is 60% off all developments.
See, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. Don't forget Cyber Monday. You're gonna get that coming up too, baby.
That's right.
Better believe I'll be putting out that Black Friday announcement. I'm gonna do an early one on Tuesday for the virtual holiday parties. We got a massive package and a whole bunch of lists. So if you want to seeing what's possible, stuff like what Rachel's doing, you want to extend that list to 50 more things, I'll put that out there for sure. So you can check it out. As far as reaching out to me, where to like find this info, where to learn more about me, keep in touch. Across all social, it's my name, Bre, Bre Donofrio. So you can friend me on Facebook, hit me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Even my website's www.bredonofrio.com. If you want to reach me right away, Facebook is where I live and breathe. So 100% you can go on there, and all the links are on my profile as well. My Facebook group, you can go to secretworldofvirtualevents.com and it'll link you right there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being on today. I know it's Saturday and you, like me, just kind of work every day. Doesn't really matter. Even on like the weekends, I don't quote unquote work, right? I spend time with family, but I'm still working. I mean, I've got a laptop, I've got my phone, I'm still communicating, building relationships, doing my thing. So I like the fact that you do that too. So everybody listening, make sure that you go connect with Bre if you want to get in on the game of virtual events or kind of step your level up or plan a wedding. Don't forget that. go ahead and reach out to Bre. And then thank you again for being on another episode of The Inbound Secret. Stay tuned for our next upcoming one.
Thanks, Bryce.
This is the Inbound Secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound Secret.